You've heard me say it many times about our children, but it's true. They're all our children. And the reason you're the teachers of the year is because you recognize that. They're not somebody else's children. They're like yours when they're in the classroom.
That doesn't seem right. They're not all our children, and I'm certainly not sharing them with that creep. Joining me now, my friend Kira Davis, editor-at-large of Red State, and now, more importantly, candidate for school board. Kira, these people don't seem to understand how creepy that comes off to parents. How can they not understand how creepy that comes off?
They don't know parents. They're not really connected. I think we've learned in the last 2 years that they're really not plugged into the electorate. I mean, you just look at anything. Look at their advocacy for Black people. You know, they partner with Black Lives Matter and on Antifa, and then those organizations come into our communities and burn up our communities and walk away. And they don't hear what Black people are saying. Look at what happens every time Kamala gets on some kind of internet engagement thing. You know, she'll be on Instagram or show up on some show, and it'll be like 1 million comments of people going, "You're not even listening to us. You're not even giving us what you promised." So they have been this disconnected forever. And I would like to harken back to my early days as a conservative. I became a conservative partially because I started listening to Rush Limbaugh. And I remember when I started listening to him, Hillary had her book out, It Takes a Village. And I remember Rush Limbaugh going, "You guys pay attention to this because this is what they think. They think that they own your kids. They think that the community will do a better job of raising your kids than you can." I remember him saying that. That was probably 20 years ago that he said that. So no, they don't think that these are our kids, and they don't think it's creepy because they simply don't bother to be connected to the people that they're asking to vote for them.
There's one. Okay, well, let me ask you this then. If I'm a politician, I have to be somewhat appealing to people because I need people to come vote for me. Wouldn't I strive to be connected?
I don't know that the Democrats do believe that you need to be appealing to people to run. We have Kamala Harris as the vice president of the United States. She is literally the most unappealing politician I have ever seen in my adult life. And she is one airplane staircase trip away from being the most powerful person in the world. So, Jesse, I hate to break it to you, but I think, and this is a silver lining for people like us who value rationale and good sense and are looking forward to maybe a drubbing in the 2022 midterms. It's a silver lining for us that they don't recognize that they're completely out of touch with people. They have insulated themselves so much within their bubbles. Look at that White House Correspondents' Dinner the other night. I mean, you know, it's just such a disconnect between wear your masks, but by the way, we're going to gather by the thousands to congratulate ourselves for a whole night. They don't care to be appealing. They think that their message alone is appealing because they have had carte blanche to do and say whatever they have wanted for the last 30 to 40 years. Suddenly conservative media is popping up and making them be accountable, and they don't know what to do.
Speaking of them doing whatever they want and saying whatever they want, the whole LGBTQ Air Force push onto kids has clearly been going on a long time, and clearly they felt the right to push this thing. And I am actually a little bit shocked by how indignant they are about the right to push this thing. Here's the head of the teachers union, Randy Weingarten, in her Beach Boys haircut.
We have to let gay kids and gay teachers, frankly, we have to let everyone talk about their lived experience. That's part of how you build relationships. That's part of how you unite people. That's part of how you save a democracy.
Kira, again, I know this goes back to the disconnect we were just talking about, but even Democrat parents don't want this stuff pushed onto kids. And I know Democrats read poll numbers. I know they're monsters, but they read poll numbers. They know that, but they're not stopping.
again, it's just, this is how it's always been, and it's worked for so long. This is the advantage of having like a huge bureaucratic apparatus behind you is like the money and the influence and the power that wields, right? But the disadvantage is that your bureaucracy becomes so big that you can't turn a ship on a dime. And that's where they are, like the public school bureaucracy and all of the corruption that has led up to this Randy Weingarten moment in history. It's led to this huge entity that now cannot pivot to accommodate the changing times. So when COVID hit and it forced us all into this hard turn, it's suddenly they couldn't keep up. So yeah, they're floundering. Of course, Randy's floundering. Of course, she doesn't understand why parents are leaving public school in droves. She's so used to having a complete monopoly on the whole conversation and what goes on in public school. She literally does not know what to do. Again, this is just more proof that they are completely disconnected. Parents don't, regardless of how they vote, right or left, there is no parent who thinks somebody else is better to raise their child than they are. No, that parent does not exist. So Randy Weingarten and her ilk have made a gross miscalculation, and I hope we make them pay for it in 2022.
I hope we make them pay for it too, but will we? And I ask it for this reason. You just pointed out rightly, parents don't want their kids learning this stuff. They don't think like this. But people oftentimes don't translate that to how they vote. Some Democrat parent out there doesn't want their kids learning he can chop his penis off and when he's 10 years old. Okay, fine. But are you still going to go vote for the Democrat who will back that? Actions don't follow their words lots of times.
There's always been a disconnect, and this is the reason why we're seeing, the Dems and left-wingers just being so absolutely apoplectic over the possibility of Elon Musk running Twitter, because part of how they do that is they control the messaging, right? And then you can convince people that, well, yeah, I know you don't want to do this, but that's not really what we're doing. We're not really telling you we want to defund the police, even though those are the words we use. What we're really saying is we want, more accountability and more social workers. So yeah, they're upset that now their messages are being called out. But Jesse, at the end of the day, it's always the thing that has remained constant in the voting wars is that you don't really need Democrats speaking from the Republican side, you don't really need Democrats to come out and vote. It's just as fine if they want to stay home. And that's probably what will end up happening is a lot of Democrats are not going to be able to stomach the idea of voting for a Republican. And I don't blame them. I get that. But what they'll do is they'll just simply stay home.
Yeah, I have a hard time voting for Republicans myself sometimes. Kira, you have an article up on Red State called Stay Home with Your Babies. Now, gosh, that is music to my ears, where a woman should be. But no, seriously, what are you talking about, Kira?
You're going to get me in so much trouble. I'm already in trouble for writing that article. I don't know. It's something that's been on my heart. I was talking to a neighbor of mine, a young neighbor recently, and she's got 4 kids. She stays at home with them, and they're all wonderful. She has a great family. And she was saying, I just can't wait to get back to the workforce so I can feel like I'm finally contributing to my family. And it broke my heart. And I told her, you're the product of now a few generations that have told women that the way that they contribute to society is financially and by being more like a man and doing the things that men do. And while that's great, I'm a woman in the workforce. I'm very thankful for the work that my mother's generation did to allow me to have these choices. But at the same time, it's like we've completely abandoned telling women that there is value, not just value, but ultimate value in being the person at home with your babies, raising them. And now that I'm kind of almost on the other end of this thing, I have a 20-year-old and a 14-year-old, I just feel a burden to be honest with mothers. I don't think enough women are honest with young mothers about what you're missing when you put this off at a young age. Everyone's going to tell you that you can be an engineer or a doctor or the most terrible vice president ever to walk the earth. Everyone's like, you're a girl, you can do whatever you want. But no one in a little girl's life ever speaks to her about the fact that she could be a mother who stays at home with her babies, and that could be a thing that she could do and enjoy. And so if you want to go out into the workforce, ladies, and do that, that's fine. Obviously, I have no issue with that. But I do think that you need to understand, and someone needs to be honest about what you miss when you leave your children there at a very young age to go out into the workforce. There are things and moments that you will never get back. There are no do-overs. Yeah. And it's such a short period of time in their lives. I do believe women are made to nurture our babies, and we should stay home and nurture our babies if we can.
Hear, hear. Amen. Kira, give us a quick update on your school board race. Where can people support you before we let you go?
Thank you, Jesse. Please go to kiraforschoolboard.org and donate. I need to raise $100,000 by November to defeat these unions, and things are looking really good. Parents are excited, and I've got people like Jesse who are just so great in supporting me. This is a revolution. This is how we do it at this level. So get involved. If there's someone in your local area running for school board that you like, go volunteer for them. It's all hands on deck.
KiraForSchoolBoard.org. We win this country back one school board seat at a time. Thank you, Kira.
Thanks, Jesse.